Okay. Running a little behind this stuff. All right.
You ready? All right. What's up, Blueprint family? How are you all doing tonight? Thank you all for joining us on this wonderful Wednesday night. So we have another great topic for you all tonight, and it involves 7 steps to overcome your fears of abandonment in a relationship.
Yes, super important. Of course, as always, this is based off of a great question that actually came from a woman who is already in a relationship but is having some fears within this relationship. And, that's totally normal within this day and age. So it's always nice to have that conversation of how can you overcome them, right?
Yep.
It's the most important thing, really. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. We are running a little behind tonight, but we are here nonetheless. All right, let's see. There we go. All right. So, what to do if you have a fear of abandonment? I have been dating a guy for. Sorry, I'm going to pull this little better. Okay, so I have been dating a guy for the last 3 months, and things were going pretty smooth between us. We have been very open and straightforward from the beginning with what we do or don't like. We don't call ourselves a couple, but at the same time, we don't see other people. However, as mentioned in a title, due to mental issues, I have a fear of abandonment, and he has a fear of commitment. I think I was very supportive and didn't push him into something until he feels like it, if at all. At the same time, I am often confused what I should do next. I think that if I don't push enough, we will stay in this intermediate state forever, with my fear being active all the time. And if I push him too much, his fear will be skyrocketing. Another layer of the complexity is coming from the fact we neither of us have been in a serious relationship and we don't know what to do. What should we expect and what is the normal pace of things to happen? Anything we could do?
Okay.
This is a good one. Oh, as always, Instagram viewers, we usually take our anonymous question and have it on the screen for YouTube.
On YouTube. So if you all want the YouTube experience, which is HD sound, HD video, and also seeing the graphics that we put up here along with the letter message, all of that fun stuff, please, by all means, watch our YouTube, join our YouTube, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. Same thing. As far as liking and sharing our videos on Instagram, we really appreciate it.
Yep. And you can ask questions at any time.
Right.
We had a great show last night as far as Instagram, a lot of participation. And unfortunately, it didn't save like I wanted to. So I couldn't upload it. But you can check that video on YouTube.
Right. All right. So, back to this this letter from this lady. All right. So they're early in their relationship, 3 months. And they have some issues as far as fear, and that consists of commitment and abandonment. I think this is pretty easy as far as what's going on here. And I would say this is a average thing that goes on.
Yeah, especially within our society.
Men are fearful of commitment. A lot of them are, because they don't know the way that the dynamics of a healthy relationship. And or either they're occupied with other people. But this lady is saying that she's not dating anyone else or seeing anyone else, and he isn't either. Bless you.
Thank
And she's having
Allergies.
issues with abandonment, meaning that she's scared that he's going to leave her,
Yeah.
from what I understand. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and she has anxiety about that.
Yeah.
Um, the thing is this: these these are issues that you need counseling for. You're not addressing that. They're not addressing the fact that they need help with their abandonment issues. They're
Yeah.
she's asking basically how to move the relationship forward. The answer
Right.
is by getting counseling.
Well, yeah, and first addressing the issue of abandonment, the
Right.
fear of
And
abandonment.
also too, you all have not established this relationship. So that's another red flag here, is that
Yeah.
you all are going about this in a about way, just going with the wind about this
Yeah.
relationship, in which that can lead to issues of misunderstanding and unclarity. So you all need to
Hmm.
clarify your relationship, establish it. If you are boyfriend and girlfriend, then that is what it is.
Yeah.
But it looks like eventually you all want to get married, right? So in order to do that, you do need to fix yourselves first, meaning seek counseling, someone who you can sit down with, and they can basically guide you through your fears, give you self work that you need to do, and hold yourself accountable to that, until you are, uh, more so relieved of your anxieties
Yep.
per se.
But in the meantime, we can go address 7 steps for actually overcoming it yourself, because I definitely recommend working with a team. And that's actually one of the steps that we'll get into. But it's really a process that can be started right now. You don't really even have to start with just somebody else. You can address this within yourself and be able to alleviate that. Because really, what it is a fear of abandonment in particular is a type of anxiety, first off, that some people experience with pretty much the idea of losing someone that they care about, or like an overwhelming fear that someone will leave you with no evidence to even support that this would take place. So simply, like my husband mentioned, the simple fact that y'all haven't even established what is going on is probably a trigger that you have to recognize as being a cause to your anxiety,
Right.
which is because y'all haven't established
It's
anything.
self-inflicting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not so much self-inflicting, but it's like it's not you're not aiding your situation or helping your situation by establishing and having that conversation.
Right.
Because
That's what
all
I
it
meant by
requires, yeah,
self-inflicting, is that they're not doing the work in order to
yeah,
establish.
yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah,
that anxiety is brought about themselves because they need more communication and understanding of where they are. 3 months is a great place to say that we are in a committed relationship.
right. Yeah, y'all should have had some. Sorry,
Bless you.
allergies, y'all. You should have had some conversation though. Thank you,
You're welcome.
about that beforehand, like, or at least by within this
Ooh.
time, because it's kind of just like, dude, you just don't know what you're doing. So that for sure is going to
I wonder how
trigger.
old they are.
Yeah, me too. Try to include age when writing in, because that really does help. But I did want to go into simply like how a fear of abandonment can show up in your relationship and why it's super important for
To
you to
recognize it.
even address it. Yeah, within early. And the great thing is you've pretty much done the first part, which we'll get into step by step, but to recognize it, that's the biggest thing that you have to do when you have any issue, pretty much, is to be able to see that, hey, this is an issue. And that's great. So I admire the fact that you're able to do that and verbalize that that is an issue. So that's awesome. But it it can show up in a variety of different behaviors in the relationship. So I do want to go over some ways that you will further need to recognize if these are things that you are doing, so that then you can know that this is probably a behavior that I need to, not probably, but this is a behavior that you're going to need to address and change. So then that way it doesn't interfere with your relationship and actually, contribute to more anxiety and stuff. So If you want, the first one would be like an intense need for reinsurance. So you're constantly needing your loved ones or those close to you to let you know that they're not going to leave you, or that you're able to, they're going to be with you, and you're able to depend on them in a way that you kind of don't trust them. So you're needing that continuous reassurance that, oh, it's there, right? So that's definitely one way that it can show up if you have a fear of abandonment. I'm gonna hit the
Right.
next one.
And then jealousy. So people with a fear of abandonment may be overly jealous
Yeah,
of their loved ones, relationships with other people,
yeah,
because they want that attention and that time and make sure that it doesn't go away from them.
hmm,
So that is one of the red flags of that. So
yeah.
if you're suffering from that, then you may have issues with abandonment.
Yep, yep, that's true. Yeah, there's certainly things that you can, yeah, if you didn't even know for yourself. So any other viewer watching, if you don't know for yourself, that for sure is one way. Another one is controlling behavior. So, in particular, you would look to try to control your spouse, and like, so that what they're doing and that they're not going to leave you, and it's all this stuff to keep them from leaving you, or giving you that feeling that they're going to leave you or something like that. So, controlling behavior is one thing to definitely keep an eye on if you have a fear of abandonment.
And then withdrawal. So people with a fear of abandonment may withdraw from their loved ones in an attempt to protect themselves.
Yeah.
So if you do that, then you may also be suffering from abandonment issues.
Yep. And believe it or not, I don't know if we've said this already. This is so common, though, within our society now more than ever, especially within the Black community, with like 80% of our households being brought up with a single parent. So whether you're raised by your mother or your father, you may be struggling with abandonment from the absentee father or mother that isn't, present in the household. And I grew up in a single family household, so I remember being able to recognize, like, that, oh, something was different, and then, like, in a way, you kind of like have that fear for that. But it's just super important that you come into this awareness, so that then you're not allowing this fear to in a way overtake you, and you can't control it, because honestly all it is anxiety. And I think within, again, our day and age, a lot of people are riddled with anxiety. So it's really all about using methods and tools that you can do in order to help yourself overcome the anxiety and, in a way, control the fear. Yeah. So we tonight, of course, if you are struggling with this fear, we are going to go ahead and dig into these 7 steps for you to actually overcome it. That's pretty much within the letter they talked about. Did you want to keep going? I kind of forgot about the letter. As soon as I seen
No,
that.
I mean that was pretty
Yeah,
much it.
that's what I was
That's all they
thinking too.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
But what was her question though?
With that,
Specifically.
overcoming that, the fear of abandonment and commitment. I was thinking
No,
tomorrow we do
no, it wasn't.
commitment,
I thought
and
it was
then
something else because she wasn't addressing the fear and the commitment thing. She just recognized it,
well,
reconciled it in the issue. Keep going.
yeah.
Anything we
So
can do.
she's saying, yeah, anything we could do about that, and then she's saying
Another
another
layer
layer.
of,
That's the second part.
okay, the second part
Is the fact that they've neither been in a serious relationship, so they don't know what to expect. That's the second part. But the first part was just this, that they have this, so they don't. He's struggling with fear of commitment.
right. That's what we're addressing now. But as
And
far
then
as
the last part, yeah.
as far as the what to expect, she can watch our video as far as the timeline, relationship timelines video that we have. And then that would basically we laid it all out what to expect as far as average relationships here in the United States and how they work out.
Well, anywhere, really.
Right. Well, yeah. But also to how, like I said, how they work out and
the natural flow.
Yeah, the flow of things.
As they progress. Yeah.
You know, like always said, that right now, just establish your relationship and then take it from there and then watch that video, because that's good information for her to be clear on what is next and then the pace of things and how things should happen.
Yeah,
you know.
making sure you're moving. And another one is to the levels of intimacy. That was another one too that kind of we addressed. It's another video that talked about moving through the levels of intimacy within a
Right.
relationship, which is
To
attached
help
to
it
the
grow.
stages. Yeah. So you're looking to first open up to each other about your simple hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, the simple stuff. Even if I'm hoping y'all have gotten to that part, but certainly after y'all have established, and then you head into your honeymoon phase where you're commonly talking about your fears, your all these other things. And that's kind of where would be good if you guys, you're there mentally, but you should be there together in a way. And 3 months in, you actually should have kind of in a way started progressing through these fears with your spouse
Right.
together.
And if
Yeah.
you all do make it about a year in this
Yeah.
relationship, and then about a year and a half to 2 years, you all move in together, I would say go ahead before you all get married, go ahead and get marriage counseling. So
Yes.
that
Yeah.
you all, because you all are so new to relationships, it's best to go ahead and get marriage counseling out of the way first before you all have any issues.
Yeah.
Because being married is totally different than actually, um, the way that you all are starting this relationship out.
Right. Yep.
You know,
Yep. That is so true. Yep. So check those
yeah.
out. Let's head on back into our topic
Because you
for today.
shouldn't. I mean, I just want to throw
Mhm.
this out there. You shouldn't have to wait for marriage counseling. You shouldn't have to wait for things to get bad before you start having marriage counseling.
Right. Good to use it as a preventive measure. So
Right.
then that way you're making sure your relationship is staying on track and you're doing the things you need to do to, in a way, dodge the curveballs that life may throw at you. You're prepared ahead of time. Yeah, definitely recommended. So, all right, head into our 7 steps for overcoming your fear of abandonment. I want to stop and not say your or my or I, because I don't like to attach ownership to fears or anything that's in a way you kind of want to get rid of, whether that's even like habits that you don't want to have anymore like that. So if you can just think of it within your mind as not being yours, not something that you're attached to, kind of like something that you're moving through or recognizing and trying to understand. So avoid saying my or our, it's not yours. Don't take ownership of it.
Mm-hmm. Give it a
Yep.
name, or either call it the
Yep. Exactly.
the fear,
Exactly.
the abandonment.
So the first step to having overcoming any fear is to acknowledge that the fear exists. And again, we already hit into this earlier when we were saying awesome job on even recognizing that this fear does exist within your environment and that you want to better control it. So the best thing, of course, for acknowledging fears, in my opinion, is journaling. And that's a great way that you can do this on your own, even if you haven't gotten into therapy and stuff yet, again, which we'll get into later. But journaling really does provide that safe space where you can explore your thoughts and feelings without the judgment or even the pressure of having to find the right words in a way, right? So when you're able to write out in a journal, you're actually creating a good environment for you to be able to express yourself just the way you want and not have to worry about censoring yourself or anything like that. You can just let it all out and get it out the way, even especially if it's difficult for you to put words to it in order to communicate it to someone else. So this would be helpful for, I think, this young lady who wrote in, because it seems like she is aware of it, but she can't quite put into words how she could communicate with her spouse or the guy she's dating, which should be your spouse if you were communicating. So it's great to go in and practice this communication with your spouse, maybe even figuring out a way how you can come and tell him, this is something that I'm experiencing, practice what you would say, what you would feel comfortable saying, or even just getting it out to what you think it looks like and maybe even letting him read it. So journaling, again, though, is just a great way to create that safe space for you acknowledging any fear if it does exist. Yep.
Yep, and then identify your triggers.
Yeah.
So, what are the things that trigger you, your fear of abandonment? So, triggers are events and situations that can cause someone to feel fear,
Yeah.
anxious, and anxiety, or afraid. So, you want to make sure that you recognize what those triggers are, so that they can be avoided. And then let other people know what those triggers are as well, so
Yeah.
that they can help you to avoid those as well.
Yeah. Yep. Some common triggers that just we thought about so that maybe you can see if these situations are occurring, how it could possibly trigger you to have some type of anxiety. One of the easiest ones is like changes in the relationship. So, usually, if a person has a fear of an abandonment, any kind of sudden change can spark up some type of anxiety. And this can be something as small as like your partner starting a new job, or maybe you guys moving to a new location, or maybe just even trying to figure out what you're doing within the relationship. Anything like that can really kind of trigger up a slight anxiety that will make you, in a way, have some type of, association with that fear of abandonment. So that's one little trigger to be aware of. Another one is like, conflicts or disagreements. Sometimes when you get into arguments and stuff with your spouse, you can think, oh, this is the end, this is the world, he's going to leave me, things, what, yada, yada, yada. So instead of, in a way, catastrophizing with stuff like that, you can really just recognize, like, oh, this is a moment where, I'm feeling triggered. My anxiety is coming up, and, I can better work towards managing that with the coping mechanisms that we'll get into later, but that you could do.
Right.
Another one
Yep.
was,
Yep. And withdrawal. So another one is withdrawing from the relationship.
Yeah.
So if your partner starts to withdraw, it can be a trigger or a fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
Withdrawal, what we mean is that they shut down, stop talking, they leave, run away, hide, things like that.
Or maybe even need little things like maybe needing space after an argument. If your spouse is like, oh, I just need some space, but that would trigger you to think, oh, they want to leave me, when that's not really the case. They just need some space to cool down. Something like that too. That's, again, can go off of the one we were just talking about with the conflicts and stuff. But that's what I thought of. Yep. Another one, of course, is the uncertainty of the future of your relationship, or just even, again, like we kind of talked about, where you're standing. So if you don't know if your partner is committed to you, of course it's going to trigger some type of anxiety, because you're trying to figure out what are you doing and if you're wasting your time. So
this is what I can see in their relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
That lack, that mystery of what are we? I said that in that past video. This is the point to where they are to ask. She needs to ask that question to him. She needs to be kind of subtle about it. But the thing is that is what I said before, is that if they can get some sort of counseling, bless you. If they can get some sort of counseling, and this would be a great way for them to establish their relationship without being triggered.
Yep.
Because if he has commitment issues, more than likely he's going to be triggered and flip out or something.
Not necessarily, but less likely to, I guess, want to engage in that conversation.
That's what I meant by flipping out.
Yeah, he may be a little withdrawal or something from it.
I don't
or
know
avoidant.
Him.
Some people are avoidant behavior and stuff like that. If they're, fearful of it, they may
we don't know him on a personal level, but he may, just laugh it off or whatever the case may be. But you do need to know where you all stand as far as the status of your relationships, especially after 3 months.
Yep. And of course, once you know your triggers, then this is where you can start to identify them and actually recognize coping mechanisms, things that are helpful for you dealing with them. And one is our number 3 step, is to challenge those thoughts. So for example, when you think about one thing in particular that I love to do within my Wifeconomics course is being able to go in and go through scenarios where you challenge your thoughts. Now, this can be related to journaling activities. Usually that's what we do them for, because it's much easier for that. But these are actually even things that you can have, conversations you can have with your spouse if you know you are having this issue. But what it will kind of look like is, take, for example, you have the negative thought that, oh, my partner is going to leave me because I'm not good enough or something like that, right? So overall, what you're doing is trying to look and see if there's any evidence that actually supports this thought.
Logic.
Any logic behind it, and if it's real. Because a lot of times what you can really recognize is, especially if this is a habit that's kind of picked up when you're younger, or when you're not really conscious and aware that you're adopting this behavior pattern, that habit can be just a thought that just kind of pops up randomly, that you don't have control over, that you're not really deliberately thinking. So when that happens, it's a great thing to then recognize, is this actually a thought that I want to hold? Is this my thought? Is there any evidence to support this thought? Then think to yourself, no, my, spouse didn't give me anything in this moment for me to be feeling this way. In fact, maybe even think about a moment where they have told you, like, I'm here for you. I want to be with you and I'm committed to you. In particular, with this woman, though, again, this goes to why I think you're struggling mentally and it's causing that anxiety, is because you don't have that reassurance anywhere within your relationship of what you guys are doing. You said you've been, there for 3 months and you haven't had that, establishment of a commitment. That is really what's going to ease your anxiety, because it gives you that mental,
peace of mind.
Yeah, and that mental dialogue that, oh, everything is okay. Because right now you don't have any mental confirmation or mental dialogue that everything is okay. He hasn't said anything like that. Like, so,
that sounds a lot of about women that want a proposal.
Yeah.
They act the same way.
Yeah.
They're full of anxiety and want to know, like,
Yeah.
are we getting married or what?
Yeah.
I mean, it does. So
Yeah,
I mean, that's
but it
normal.
shouldn't,
That's normal.
It shouldn't, though, because, like, I think about our relationship and kind of how it progressed. I wasn't anxious over whether or not we were progressing, because we were open, we were having conversations, we were talking, we were figuring out, like, oh,
Right.
well, let's move in. Oh, let's, get married. Oh, let's do this. These were the conversations that we were having, because I was bringing it to you in a way to relieve that anxiety. Again, I can relate to this. I totally understand that fear of abandonment. And again, I say that fear because it's not something that's necessarily yours. A lot of times it is a survival mechanism that you take on because, you've gone through trauma or something like that. So it's just something that you naturally adopt. When you have moved through that stage and you're no longer there, you can learn to shed those survival mechanisms that you no longer need. You're not there in that place anymore. So it's totally okay to learn to shed that. And it's super important, though, that you do this through communication. You have to talk about what's going on so you can have clarification within your mind and have that dialogue within your mind. If not, it's going to be stuck, confused, and nervous, like you're saying, anxious, because you don't know what's going on. Like, that's the easiest way to cut all that out. You just really got to think about it. Another thought that you could definitely have within that idea of, abandonment within your spouse is just being able to reference all those good moments that you guys are together, and even looking forward to the moments that you're about to be together and stuff like that. So again, once you're able to even establish that commitment, kind of in a way, the excitement for the relationship and what you're doing will really help you to, again, have a better inner dialogue with yourself.
Yep. And then next also is to practice self-care.
Yes.
So taking care of yourself physically and mentally can help you feel more secure and less likely to be triggered by abandonment fears. It'll help you to be more confident in yourself. So this includes eating healthy, getting enough sleep, of course, exercising regularly, all of the good things that we're supposed to be doing. Relaxation, drink your water, relaxation techniques such as deep breathing or meditation, and that can help you calm down when you're feeling anxious.
Yeah, definitely adopt those habits. I have learned a lot of different breathing techniques, a lot of different things that you can do to really help. And those are important. I really don't want to even just quickly minimize the fact of how important the dopamines it is that you get from good, living, wholesome food, living food that gives you the energy and the vibrations within your brain that really help elevate you. Exercising, the dopamine that you get from that, the release of stress and tension.
Eating is cannabinoids.
Yeah, the cannabinoids. Yep, that's connected to that too. Yep, for sure. So all of that, really don't minimize how important that is, and how I definitely can notice when you don't get enough sleep, how easy it is to give into that anxious thought because you're sleepy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you really just cannot downplay how important it is to take care of yourself.
Yep. Yeah. And then also to build your support network. So having a strong support network of friends and family can help you to feel less alone and feel more supported. So talk to your loved ones about your fears of abandonment and ask for their help in managing it, and which also includes a professional therapist.
Yep.
So you may also need that as well, if especially if you don't have anyone to talk to. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with
Right.
getting a therapist, especially if you need, um, help with resolving your fears or
Yeah.
issues. It's healthy. That's a healthy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or either find a mentor. Another thing you could do is find a
Yeah.
mentor, someone who's has more experience in life, and also too maybe in relationships as well, like this young lady and her boyfriend. They
Right.
need to figure out their next steps, and then so what, who else better to ask than a married couple,
Yeah.
who already been through those stages of relationships and know where relationships are going
Right.
and how
That's
to
super
establish
important.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think now more than ever, it's important to make sure who you check in, who you're getting your information from, so that it's really aligned with where you want to be within your life. And on top of it, usually married couples, we've already come up with coping mechanisms that we understand are really valuable and really help during all the phases of marriage. It's kind of like a common thing within, like, I guess, the marriage community, because you understand, like, oh, you got the spouse, and so you'll come up with coping mechanisms to help you go through life and progress, so that you're not just looking to, quit, jump ship, or, have that fear, those fears, interrupt your relationship or anything like that. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Also all the viewers that's out there, if you all have any questions at any time about anything, please feel free to ask those questions. You can ask them live here on the show, or either we also do anonymous questions on www.wifeconomics.com/submit a question. Also, too, on our YouTube channel, we also have different text graphics and things like that as well, that you all can see and hear us in HD, and then also see us in HD as well. Um, so yeah, so thank you all for joining us.
Yep. Yep.
So, the next, what's the next point, honey?
Number 7, mainly heading into the last step of overcoming your fear of abandonment. We've covered a lot, and we'll kind of go back and recap for our new viewers that have come in. But in particular, it's super important that you're patient with yourself when you're going to deal and address these issues of abandonment and that fear of that. Again, it's super common within our community. So you just have to, one, recognize that you're not alone. You're not the only one going through this. It is a lot of us who have gone through it, who have overcome with it, and who are even learning every day how to manage it better and better. And that's really all you can hope for yourself, especially within the world that we go through today. So if you can, just make sure that you're giving yourself the grace and having, the time and effort to actually be able to work through and manage your fears overall in particular. So,
Right. I mean, because all of these feelings are human. These are human
mhm,
feelings, and they're natural. So,
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with you in that aspect. You just need to
yeah,
learn how to manage those feelings and those feelings of anxiety that come along with it.
yep.
You had hair in your mouth.
Yeah, an eyelash. I'm going through it today, y'all. I'm tired. It is. In the early morning when you got kids, I'm telling you, 4:30, and it's not playing. And we're still here because we're committed, and we know that as we keep going and we keep doing this, it really does help us overall just be able to stay committed and dedicated to what we're doing. Anyways, sorry, we digress. But some additional tips that I want to kind of get into, in particular, that kind of relates to this young lady who wrote in and your relationship, because you are already in a relationship and you don't want to mess it up by just allowing your fear to overcome you. So in particular, you really want to make sure that you're getting down to communicating with your spouse. You said in here that you guys haven't had that much communication. It seems like more so you are just going with the flow, kind of just having fun, not really like having those talks that you really need to talk so that you can establish things. But in particular, you need to have this conversation with your spouse too. It's great that you wrote in. If it even helps, just give them the same thing that you kind of wrote to us about, just saying, hey, I'm having this fear of abandonment. If it's too hard for you to have the words yourself, just make sure that you're letting your spouse know that this is something that affects you, so that you and your spouse can then work together and figure out how to address it together. Because even when you're married, like, I think about just relationships in general, it's going to require you knowing how to adapt and adjust to change and problems when they come and come into play. And in particular, in a marriage, if a spouse is going through something within themselves mentally, anxiety, depression. It's a range of things that now more than ever people can be going through within their mental. In those moments in time, your spouse is not going to know unless you're communicating this with them. If you kind of just do things like withdrawal, which is very common if you have a fear of abandonment, you may just kind of go into your own shell and withdraw. Your spouse may think that, oh, you're not even interested in them. They may think that something's up, like the relationship's changed, and it not even be that at all. It's just that you need to open up about the fact that, hey, I'm dealing with some anxiety right now, and this is how I think I would love for you to support me. If in particular, if you can sit down and write ways that you feel you can communicate with your spouse as what they can do to help you, it would really give them an idea of, okay, you're telling me this is how I can help, and then okay, I'm down to be able to help you through this and work through it together. So that's really what it's about within a marriage. You're gonna come up with this stuff. Like it's gonna be stuff. It's just that's life. But it's how you communicate through it that's really gonna determine how well you come out on the end of it.
Yep. And then also to set realistic expectations. We say
Yeah.
this like every night.
Right.
Because it's very important. It is important to set realistic expectations for your relationship and spouse. So don't expect your partner to be perfect. Do not compare relationships. If you've been in a relationship before, do not compare partners and say things like, my ex didn't do this and you act like my ex or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Or either, my parents' relationship wasn't like this or whatnot. So this is your relationship. You basically have to design this relationship through, like my wife said, through communication. Address situations and issues through proper communication. But also to set realistic expectations throughout the relationship.
Yep. And I like that. Don't expect your partner to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That is big, especially when it comes to, I guess, that fear of commitment, like you said, your spouse may have, or the fear of abandonment that you recognize. But just that within itself will make you, in a way, think that, oh, any little thing that your spouse does is them threatening to leave you, or something bad is going to happen, or trigger some type of anxiety. So just don't hold so many expectations to what your spouse is supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, and if they don't do it, that is just going to create a whole host of anxieties for you that is not going to put you in a good mental headspace. So create within your mind the positive image that you want your relationship to go in, not the negative or past relationship you wanted to go in. Yeah. Let me see. Another, of course, trust your partner. That's big with the whole fear of abandonment thing. A lot of times with any type of fear, it will really be based on the fact that you don't feel that person will actually do what they say they're going to do. You're a little nervous about that. You're going to have trust. That is like an essential part of a relationship. And if you don't have that, you might as well just,
be alone.
Yeah, it's going to be super hard, super difficult to even overcome any type of fear if you just don't have some type of trust in the other thing existing.
You need trust and loyalty.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
To build a relationship.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And communication. So next, focus on present moment. So be clear and present. Be in the present time. It is easy to get get caught up in the past or worry about the future.
Yeah.
So just realize that, however, it is important to focus on the present moment, and you all need to enjoy that in your relationship. So appreciate the time, the current time, and live in that current time. Don't have any worries about things in the future, finances, or whatever the case may be. You need to plan accordingly. Don't get me wrong, but you can plan in the present time only. You can't plan in the past or the future.
Right.
You can only plan in the present.
Yeah, it was the quote, life occurs in the present moment.
Right.
That's the only place that life occurs at. And if you're not there, then you're missing it. Like you're just missing it. But that's super important, even when it comes to the fear, getting over the fear of abandonment. Because if you're not focused on the present moment, then you are certainly stressing yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating some type of anxiety or angst within yourself. So because it's really important, and it's some things that I naturally, again, do for myself. And you did, the question was some tips, some advice. So I think offering my tips of what I do would be very helpful for you as well. One of my, again, my favorite ones is deep breathing exercises. It is a whole host of deep breathing exercises that you can go and figure out the quickest, the easiest one. There's so many different techniques. I would love to go through them with you. Actually, within my Wife Economics course, this is something that we personally go through. I walk all the women that I come in contact with through these exercises so that you can build them into your natural habits of your day-to-day life. So if you are interested in that, that's certainly one route that you could take. You could YouTube them, all sorts of things, but in particular, deep breathing exercises are great for helping you be able to calm down and focus on the present moment, especially if you catch yourself, drifting with some type of anxiety or something going on. Just really being able to hone in on that breath. That's the connection of life that's going to fill you with energy. It's going to really help you calm down. I can't really breathe because my nose is stuffy at the moment, but it's really a great thing that you could do for yourself in any moment that you really are feeling anxiety or fear over anything. Just stop and take a moment of breathe. Yeah. Another one is to be mindful of your surroundings. This is one that I often think when we first started dating, and it was a practice that I noticed you used to do a lot too when you were trying to practice being present in the moment, is doing only one thing at a time, of course. So when you're actively doing that thing, you're just honed in and focused on that one thing you're doing, and you're just really being able to pay attention to that. So whatever you're doing in those moments, pay attention to that and be mindful of that. And then also simply be mindful of your surroundings and the beautiful things that are around you if you don't have much that you're actually being focused on. So even taking that moment to detach from all activities and to just focus on the beautiful sounds, colors, smells, all certain things around you. That will really help you find an appreciation and a beauty in life. Yeah. Which will help you to focus on that present moment. Yeah.
Yep.
Even your spouse, focus on them. Yeah.
And then also to do something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
So when you're doing something that you enjoy, you're more likely to be present in the moment. Of course, your hobbies, and things of that nature. This can be anything from reading a book to taking a walk in nature. So especially do this with your significant other as well, to make moments, to build memories.
Yep. And give you a record of things you can pull back on. Like we said, when you're going back and you challenging those negative thoughts, right? And you're trying to address those fears that may pop up, being able to back them up with legit experiences and moments that you have had within your relationship will
Living
really
proof.
it'll serve as proof. And it'll really help you ease a lot of those anxieties that you may have and really actually put you in a good, safe, happy space. I love thinking back on moments of that we've had, like, great moments whenever you're like upset or something like that. Or even though I'd like to think about my kids. Like I love when they get you upset, you think about the one thing, something that's gonna make you just not focus so much on the part that's getting you upset, but more so focus on the good part of it. So if you can have a reference, something that you can always go back to, that's always really going to help you with that mental dialogue and disposition. What's up? I'm trying to think.
What's next? Spending time with loved ones. So spending time with loved ones is a great way to connect with the present moment. When you're with people you care about, you're more likely to be present and engaged with them. So make sure that you do that as well. So
we've definitely already hit on that, but that's super, again, important to do. Of course, overcoming a fear of abandonment is not the easiest thing in the world, but it's certainly possible. People do it every day. We all, in a way, have to get over it. That's, it's instinctual. We're not saying that you're, in a way, going to just rid yourself of any fears you ever have and you're never going to be worried about anything within your relationship. You're not going to have those thoughts. It's not realistic. That's not what we're saying at all. But what you're really going to be able to do is better manage those moments when they come along, because they're going to come. You're going to have those moments where you're a little fearful of something. Fear is, natural. It serves a great purpose, for survival, for protection,
right. You see, but the wonderful thing is about being a human is that through repetition and practice, these things get better. So you don't have to, it's not all doom and gloom, but
Right.
there is a way that you can get past your fears. Whether, here is commitment and what was it? Abandonment.
Yeah, I
You
actually
know,
want to do the commitment tomorrow, but we'll see.
while working, on your fears or whatever your issues are, you eventually get better. And they say it takes 30 days of practice in order to be comfortable with something, and have confidence in doing. So
Yeah.
just, that's some information that I'm dropping there as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah. And that's so true. Like, because I think of just the natural things that used to give me angst or
this show,
anxiety. Yeah.
they're
Well,
starting off.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's one example. Yeah, kind of we were talking about earlier, just the
Yeah.
habit of doing that. Yeah, but even when I think of like the angst and anxieties within a relationship in general, just being able to challenge those thoughts and do it faster, so you'll be able to go through that process that we went through earlier about recognizing and challenging it.
That also takes the cooperation of the significant other.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, that takes time and patience. All that stuff that we had said previously. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but in particular when it comes to trying to recognize it again, I really think the journaling aspect that we talked about earlier would be great for you, especially if you're having a hard time being able to communicate and being able to, I guess, put words to your feelings and recognize your triggers and the things that you need to, I guess, build on within yourself. So if you could take the time to really have that journaling activity, whether it's just sitting down. The only thing I do recommend, as I always recommend within my Wife Economics course, is the only thing, make sure you start is have an intention in mind of what you want to do within this journaling activity. So when you're starting, if you can just sit down and be like, I just want to rant. I just want to get my feelings out. I just want to talk about this. I just want to figure out this. Whatever it is, set that intention, write it down, and then allow yourself to just relax and surrender to whatever you need to put on the paper. That will really help give you the direction of, this is why I'm doing this action, and really give you the benefit in the long run, because then you'll see once it's completed, this is what I said I was going to do, and this is what it looked like in the end. So yeah, that was a good one. It's always it's a heavier one when you're dealing with the fears and anxieties, but it's so necessary. I thought this was a great question that we had with a lot of the traction that this channel has been getting lately with things. So I think in particular, being able to tackle some of the harder issues when we're getting more views is a great thing to do in particular. So I loved this question. Thank you for writing in for this question. And if anybody else wants to write in anonymously, or even better, you can be on our YouTube on Restream. You don't have to be on camera for that if you are a little intimidated on requesting to join the live or whatever. So as you get more comfortable with this channel, we are truly, truly here to help, and we really want to be of benefit to our community and just offering that advice from a marriage perspective in a way. To really help and guide. Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate you all coming out tonight, and thank you all for joining us. So if no one has any questions or concerns or comments, we will go ahead and bring this show to a close. So thank you all for coming out tonight, and peace.